Second Amendment rights. Because some people question that. Bill, you want to go over your history?
Well, I could do that. I even put something down in writing so I might remember it all. Well, ladies and gentlemen, my name is William Penny.
Not related to Bob. Are you? Okay. Sorry.
I happen to have a family tree book that goes back to when my family got here in the East Coast in 1650. His name is in there. Well, it's just like the Webster Dictionary. I'm related to both of them. Okay. I started out long time ago as a kid. I was able to have an apprenticeship. Michigan had a deal where you go to school half day, work half day. Well, I followed my mother's one thing that she said, and that was that, you know, you can use your mind or use your back. Up to that point, up till I was 13, we had a 630-acre dairy farm. That was work. So, long short of it is, I got in an apprenticeship. From that point on, I would go to school in the morning. I would go to my apprenticeship in the afternoon. The lead person on the apprenticeship was Harvey Jacobitz. Anybody that's real familiar with history and the German, his father was the lead engineer on the German 88. Real nasty weapon, very accurate. So I was in this apprenticeship, and then he got me into a thing called GMI, German Motors Institute of Technology. So I would be getting I would come out as tool and die. I had done a lot of understanding and help and working with different people. In fact, I cleaned a gentleman's gun collection, which surpasses anything I have ever seen anywhere, of every weapon you can imagine. I ended up shortly after that as the lead instructor for 13 Special Forces in Detroit, Michigan. I had more knowledge than all of their new people ever thought about it. I ended up in the reserve when you couldn't get in the reserves, and then went active duty. I retired from the military, and then I also retired about 3 months ago from flying Gulfstreams. When I was down in Alabama at Fort Rucker, I run into a gentleman by the name of Captain Ted Smith. That name may be familiar with some of you, hopefully in a good way. He was 30
He worked with us for years. He taught firearms tactics. In fact, we've got a naming commission to name the tactical shooting range after him.
Not pick any name.
Not that I care who they name it after.
Well,
but I'm only accepting one name.
Well, this right here is the same thing as an APD training manual for the weapons. He wrote it, he gave it to me, because I was instructing under him until I got my own state certification as a concealed carry instructor. It took 2 years to do it, got it done. I've been instructing ever since, and I see a lot. Good morning, sir.
Morning.
Fred Dyson's on the body with us. He represents Eagle Ridge Chugach and Partsville. south, sorry, Carlson Muldoon area.
Oh, yeah, I recognize Fred. Luckily, he don't recognize me. I do.
Good morning, John. There's donuts up here and coffee over here, guys.
I recommend not sitting next to me. There's seats over there. And one is the Felix.
Hello again.
Apologize for being late.
It's all right.
Are we supposed to apologize over late?
I'm a dinosaur.
I will tell you one time, we had some meetings up here, and you know how they refer to me for 2 meetings as your worship? I like that. Try using that.
You know, Fred, for us that have been here for, I've only been here 47 years. I'm trying to cover
28 degrees.
Anyway, Bill, go ahead.
I could have ice skated right there.
Yeah.
It was crazy.
Well, anyway, I met Ted down there at Fort Rucker. The only thing I have against him, he was a helicopter pilot.
So they train.
But that, you know, I was here. He was here 27 years before I even knew he was here. I had several individuals. One of the sitting judges asked me to do some training for them and get them into a position where they could handle firearms and protect themselves. And I said, sure. Well, let me do a little research. But they were talking about teaching them like we taught in the military. And I looked at that and I'm saying, you know, there's some stuff been changed since then. And at that time is when I found out Ted was here in town. So it was a good old reunion. Now it's just Sergeant Ted Smith. And he got me going. I ended up teaching under him and him signing off my classes until I had, 2 years later, I had my own state concealed carry training ability. The one thing that I see, even with judges, lawyers, that some of them don't know what's going on. A judge, how does he make a decision on something? He has his lawyers that work for him to bring him the information, put it in front of him, okay. Now you take your average people. The way I found out about this with the judges was, and that was back when we were trying to get the stand your ground law through. Oh yeah, that went through last year. No, it did not go through when it come up the first time. And it's just like, oh. You see, a lot of people don't really know the law. And that is the biggest thing that will get a person in trouble. They don't know that if you get into a situation and when an officer, what to do then? I just had this guy or gal or this person coming at me and with a baseball bat, and they've expressed a desire to ensure that I never drive again or I never fly, you never do anything again, I'm going to kill you. Well, right there, you've got ability, opportunity, and jeopardy, and the jeopardy was just covered right there by their words. Also, the fact they had a baseball bat. So if I would stop the threat, individuals down, no longer a threat, I call 911 and I say, this is William Penny, I'm at this location. I need paramedics for an individual that has been shot. I'm involved, and that's it. You don't say anything more.
I'm involved.
I'm involved. You are clear, you are straightforward, you do not You don't try and skew it one way or the other. You just say that. Then the officer comes, paramedics are there, and they want you to give them a statement. Oh, I don't think so. If an officer is involved in a shooting, gee whiz, isn't it true that they get 3 days administrative leave? Mm-hmm. Why? Now, I have 3 tours of Vietnam. I hold the CIB. I've done a lot of that.
CIB,
What- pardon?
Combat Infantry Badge.
Right, CIB.
Yeah.
In those situations, usually what happens is you might have to hike 2, 3, 4 clicks away to get to your extraction point. The one thing that happens in these situations when you get into a shooting is the body produces the most powerful chemicals there is, maybe short of fentanyl. All of that is in your body, and you cannot recognize anything, hardly, realistically. But what it is during that period of time, you end up with tunnel vision. Later on, say 3 days later, it's like, oh, so you end up, I got this guy coming at me with a baseball bat and everything. I get out of there, I come back, and I write down exactly what I remember then, at that time, that day.
It's boring.
Now, 3 days later, you come back, and you look at that, and it's like, oh no, that was there, but that car was there. All these things, you're gonna remember it, but you're not gonna remember it then. Because it takes a period of time for this to get out of your system. You cannot, so if I was to give them a statement then, and then you go to court, oh no, it's like this and this, well, what's the truth? You are not capable of giving them a true answer at that point. So, you gotta pay attention, do it right. There's,
Yeah, that actually begs the question.
So at that point, the cop says, tell me what happened, and you go, I don't wanna talk. Now you get handcuffed and hauled to jail, so you wanna talk.
hopefully, somebody else saw it also. Fine, if I have to go to jail, I gotta go to jail.
You just shot some guy.
Well,
They
and
don't
also,
know what happened, but you shot some.
by your argument, any testimony from any criminal perpetrator taken at the moment should be discounted and thrown out. That's the argument I'm hearing.
Yeah, you can, but, hopefully, it's gonna be in a situation, here he is, laying there with a baseball bat in his hand, right beside him.
Forrest.
Thank you.
Forrest is an attorney, by the way.
I am. So I think what Chris said is actually pretty insightful, and it's actually true. The eyewitness testimony has come to be understood as highly unreliable, even first-person testimony. It's still what you get in most cases, but it's highly unreliable. Now, what I'm surprised I haven't heard you say, you go by William or Bill?
William?
William. Is to ask for your attorney. I mean, why, when the police officer comes to you, say, I would like to be represented by counsel.
Yeah.
Totally your right to do so.
Well.
You're probably going to go to jail, like, I mean, not jail, but you're going to go and be held, and then get a chance to have an attorney there, and then speak to the police. Why wouldn't you go through that? Why would you wait for days and days?
3 days. This is experience.
Okay. But, I mean, the police, I mean, what John is saying is true. They have a dead person or a severely injured person. They have a person holding a gun. they haven't got any information further, you're recommending people basically be held for several days.
Fine.
That's unusual advice. I don't think it's crazy. I think it's, I mean, if you have an attorney there
Yeah.
to talk to you.
Oh, by the way, on my phone, I have one line there, W-A-R.
Well, you have to your
And that's his, and I have his phone number.
No, that's, then you're guilty.
Wait until you're on. Sorry.
All right.
Wait until you're on. Our once and future Attorney General.
Well, Wayne and I have known each other for as long as I've been here, 47 years. In fact, when he goes to a gun show and he wants to get out and walk around, nobody else is with him. He calls me and asks me to sit there.
And you think that would be his, I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman. you may continue.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
And this is discussion, not an interrogation. You think that would be his recommendation, that you wait 3 days as opposed to calling him and discussing it and then giving a statement that day or that night?
Absolutely, I know it.
I've never been in that situation. It's interesting.
At this point, it's your word against the person that's shot's word.
Uh-huh.
And if there's no witnesses, I mean, yeah, you had the gun, he had the bat, so it's sort of a he said, she said thing, or he said, but nobody knows who exactly to believe at that point.
Okay.
Depending on your backgrounds or whatever.
Okay, I will give you another item in that situation. Because in this situation, it is a real life situation. I made one mistake and Ted took out about 10 pounds of my backside. He was in it. You know Penland Parkway and Rodeo Drive? Sure. I was coming out. The roads were just horribly slippery. I backed off from the intersection a ways because it was so slippery. I didn't want to get in there, and I didn't want to avoid other cars coming in. There's a car coming from the west to the east. It was an older foreign pickup, dirty. The individual driving it pulled in and pulled right up against my bumper in the front. Actually broke the plastic on my license plate protector. And he's sitting in that car explaining to me in hand signals and a few other things. And then he opened his door and screaming at me. And that, you know, I couldn't hear him that well. Opened the door and I said, "Sir, if you'll please just back up a little, I'll get out of your way." He explained that I was not going to ever drive again. I'm going, you know, this and that and everything else. And I thought, oh my gosh. I had one of those, I think they call them adjusting cars, right up again behind me. I couldn't back up, couldn't do nothing. I was trapped. So you get a situation like this, and as I well understand now, this guy, his teeth were rotted out. He had sores all over his face, and I understand that he was a meth head. Well, you look at me and then you look at him, and any officer that has any training at all, it's going to like, yeah. Well, he reached back into his vehicle, got a baseball bat out, and was going to come between the two vehicles, couldn't get through because he was right up against it. He went around the back of the vehicle. I had the door open, I was behind the door, and I had my weapon drawn to low guard. I commanded him to stop 3 times. I told him, "You're breaking law, you're threatening my life." He got to the front of the door, I just stepped out, brought the weapon up on him, and he was in the midst of a step, and it was like he froze. He was aware enough to understand that he put himself in a bad situation. He brought a baseball bat to a gunfight. He stopped, turned, got in his vehicle, and left. Anybody that's ever had to take another life knows full well the magnitude of how that affects you. When I left Vietnam, one of the first things I thought of when that airplane was in the air leaving Vietnam was, thank God I never have to do that. I pushed the limit on how close this individual got to me. That, normally, you wouldn't let it. No, I'm pretty good. In fact, I just took the combat master test for front side here this past summer. And two of the areas that I covered, one of them is drawn fire in 1 second or less. You have to make a decision, act, and fire in 1 second. I know I'm good enough to take care of that. However, the things that go through your head in that, my big mistake was I couldn't get away from there fast enough. I didn't want to shoot that guy. I don't care what it was, but I didn't want to do that. I should have just gone on down to cars, got in the building there, called APD and said, hey, give him the description. And they could have got that guy. He could have done something else later to somebody else that wasn't prepared. I told Ted, and Ted dressed me up one side and down. He was right to do so, because I should have known. But anybody that's had to take a life, Fred?
No, I'm trying to get.
I'm sorry, Fred.
No, that's all right. What are we trying to accomplish in this meeting, and what do we want to do at the end of it?
Just to let you guys know you're responsible if you decide to use a weapon, because I've had questions from assembly members.
So this is all for our benefit?
It's all for your benefit.
Okay.
It's not on the record.
Yeah, so.
That's the reason I didn't put down what the title of this is. If you watched what we put down there, it's just for you to ask him questions.
All right. I wished I had known that. It's a 30-mile round trip for me.
I'm sorry, Fred.
And a couple legislators put out a 2.5-hour briefing out South Anchorage, and had copies of state law and all that stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
You and I were at the same meeting.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so, okay, so what we're here for is to learn from you, is that the deal?
To give you as much information as possible.
All right, I got it, thank you.
There is, as far as I'm concerned, there is nothing more important in the concealed carry class than, number one, understanding the law, your responsibility, to be up to date. I really wish folks would have to take a tune-up every once in a while. I have to update a lot of the stuff I do.
Yeah, and I wish that, and I've pushed this several, wish that our insurance companies, would be more discriminating. So I haven't had a chargeable accident ever. I haven't had one ticket, in the last 30 years. I think my insurance, I get good tires in my car, and stuff. In the same way that, our insurance companies would give an incentive or a penalty for not doing the very thing.
Yeah.
That
Well, okay, like you got the NRA concealed carry.
Yep.
Okay, you have that, but laws change within different states. And in doing that, you could be in violation of a law. Because let's say I go from here to Michigan. In Michigan, if there is an assembly of people, a certain amount, I cannot carry my concealed weapon in that area. Now, my brother-in-law was sheriff of Tuscola County for 4 terms, and Yeah, you know, I'd go there and I'd say, okay, what is this, what's this, what's this, what's this? But that's important. You know, you take these people going around and firing into a building, and anybody is harmed or killed. Okay, I got Mr. Dyson there. He is coming at me, but there's several people behind him. And he's got a weapon intending to kill me. I cannot use my weapon because I would be guilty for not using good reason. You take, there's a thing in the law, what would this reasonable person do? Oh, I see a head nod there. This mythical reasonable person. Yeah. But if somebody was to, you know, you just go ahead and indiscriminately you shoot into a house, as far as I'm concerned, it's prima facie evidence that that individual is guilty of premeditated murder. He went out with a weapon, he or she went out with a weapon and fired into them. Absolutely wrong.
And he can be charged.
He can be charged.
Murder 2?
Pardon?
Murder 2?
Yeah, as far as I'm concerned, that's murder 1, because he intended to shoot somebody.
Yeah, but he
Yeah.
didn't get his intended victim.
I know.
Is it appropriate to ask questions?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. All right, so I had a situation not unlike yours with an angry driver.
Yeah.
And when would I cross the line on, quote, brandishing my weapon? I mean, I wanted him to know that even he was a young, vigorous stud, that I wasn't defenseless. But what's the law say about that?
Okay, here you've got the 3 items: the ability, the opportunity. When that is there, and they're expressing, let's say they're expressing their, something else out here, and we can, okay. The ability means that the other person has the power to kill or to cripple or cause you grave bodily harm.
Yep.
Okay. And the ability, now, in your case and my case, well, we're sort of in the elderly class. We're getting there. Hey, watch it. Then you got the opportunity. The opportunity means the circumstance.
No, I understand all that.
Okay, you get to that point. Now, it is the jeopardy portion that we have to look at very carefully, because that's the one that'll either hang us or save us. And it means that the other person's actions, words.
That's not my question. I didn't point it at him. At what point letting him know that I am armed gets into brandishing or him, threatening him?
Okay, if he's making statements, like the individual said, he's going to make sure I can't ever drive again, he's going to kill me. He's already crossed the line there. At that point, I should have my weapon, have drawn my weapon. I'm at low guard. I'm not pointing it at him, I'm at low guard. And that's when, and if they're within, it depends on.
Okay, yeah, so the question is whether it's legal or not is whether I pointed at him. Me showing him.
No, you don't show him. It is just, you know, like, see this. No.
Hey, Eric, there's donuts and coffee up here.
It's that the weapon is at low guard, not pointed at him, because he's already coming at you. If it gets within a certain distance, and that's something that you have to practice yourself, as to when you can discharge the weapon, that's, you know, I have a student with a fake knife run at each other. okay, you have to draw and have the weapon on them at a point where you can stop the threat. If the individual gets within 20, 30 feet coming at you, you better have that weapon out. Because if he's got a knife,
Okay, you're telling me more than I need to know. What I need to know is that there's a real threat within distance to hurt me,
Yes.
then I'm okay pointing at him.
once he's coming at you, and once he gets to, coming at you like that, then you can draw.
All right, is there any time at which me showing a weapon gets me in trouble?
If you bring it out and you see, do this sort of thing, you're wrong. The weapon has to be in a position like low guard where it is in a safe position. So that when, if
I don't understand why you're not answering my question. Is there any place in any situation where just showing I have a weapon will get me in trouble?
Yes, there's areas, yes it will.
What are they?
You're driving down the road and somebody's coming at you or something, you can't
Bring that Chinese.
show a weapon.
Okay.
That is considered brandishing.
Or you can be, can you just go like that? You have a holster. Someone comes up, you feel intimidated, you just go like that. It's still in your holster, you're just showing, hey.
Part of the thing for saving your life is that if there is a weapon, if you've got it with you, it should be a surprise ambush. But you can't just be in your vehicle and show a weapon. That is absolutely brandishing. And there is a law covering that. Don't want to do it.
So is the illegal thing then an implied threat? If you're brandishing, you've got an implied threat?
Forrest agrees with you.
Sorry?
Forrest agrees. It's
I
an
agree,
implied
although
threat.
Eric is the prosecutor, so he probably knows a little better these kind of situations.
Yeah, it's your fault.
I'm a civil corporate attorney.
That's good. That's good.
My question is, so the guy's got a bat, well, the bat's only 3 or 4 foot long,
Yeah.
you know? And he's 15 or 20 feet away from you. Their argument is, the other argument could be, how can you feel threatened? He has a bat, he's 20 feet away, he can't hit you from 20 feet away. So how close actually does he really have to hit before you can legally,
Okay. I'll answer that. You can put a round right through a heart, and that individual is good for about 45 seconds to still come at you, swing the bat, hit you in the head, and kill you. A person with a knife can stab you after being shot, and they got 45 seconds that they can still kill you.
And they can
Yes,
cover
John.
ground at an amazing rate.
John has a question.
Following up on that, you can look online. And when I did the Citizens Police Academy, they showed us some of this. But they show 30 feet was the thing. They say someone with a knife 30 feet away can kill you before you get your gun drawn on them. And these were professionals. These were police practicing this. And it was
Well,
shocking.
that's one of the good things about getting people to go to someplace like Front Sight, that if they come out of there after a 4-day class, they're actually better than what we got on the street now. Because they will have you up to the point that you can draw and fire 2 shots center of mass. Person don't go down and come back with a shot right here to here every single time. And so the idea of it is at that point, you have discharged 2 rounds. Okay, maybe the individual's got body armor on. So the next thing you want to do is you are going to put a bow here to here at 10 yards. So that's 30 feet.
By the way, for those that don't know it, I did armor the assembly chambers. It wasn't done before, when you were here before us, but since you've been gone, I had Kevlar put on the dais. So if somebody were coming shooting, they'll stop a 44 Magnum point blank.
He did it just for you. Just
I did it for my clerks. They were always worried about what would happen if somebody went crazy.
Crazy people and angry.
Yeah. Let me tell you, with taxes, Fred, we get them all the time.
Did you do
Mr.
it on the
Dyson?
administration side too, or just
The
the?
administration too, I don't discriminate.
Mr. Dyson, you know what that is?
No? Oh, yeah, it's a gun safe.
No. It's a Quran.
Hmm?
With all the stuff that's been going on, a few years ago, I was working in Saudi Arabia flying a Gulfstream for a national. And I kept going. My neighbor was an engineer. His father was a professor at the university. And I was just deluging him with questions. Finally, one day he says, "Stop. Are you going to be here this week?" I said, "Yes, I'm not flying this week." He says, "Be here in the morning, or in the evening for supper." And we started going through this. He brought me 3 Hapley's normal books, one that I wanted to get, but I could never afford. And that book right there, I was instructed to read all 4 of them. The first books weren't too bad. That thing, I don't know exactly how many pages are there, but I have over 1,000 pages of, like this, of questions. Anybody that says they have read the Quran and they understand it, they're blowing hot air, because there is hardly any word in the Arabic language that directly corresponds to English. Anybody that has been involved in these things understands that. I asked, there was question after question after question. And if you think that there's people out there that say, "Oh yeah, I'm a Muslim, and I'm devout Muslim to the Muslim faith," I got a question. Is that a religion? Anybody? Is it a religion?
Yes.
What?
Yes, it's one of the 3 major Abrahamic faiths, along with Judaism and Christianity.
You're wrong. It's a theocracy. Yeah.
I'm out.
Okay. Let's go off that. Let's talk
But
about.
the thing of it is, you've got people that will come at you, and they will use this sort of a philosophy, and look what's happening around the world today.
Anyway, let me get off that. Let's just deal with guns.
Well,
You guys have any question on weapons?
Interesting to me, people, so if you can't show that you have a gun, but people open carry.
yes,
And I think they open carry to say, "Don't mess with me." Where's the
these
line?
are
I can't
people.
do this.
These are people that look at this as like, "See, I got it, yeah." That is absolutely. You get into a situation where you have to defend yourself. You want to make sure that it's all based on your side, not somebody else's. Because if you're not trained, as I am, you're in a bad situation. You're walking down the street here. Are you watching who's behind you? Or can you?
I think you can do that.
No.
You're good at it.
No, you don't. You don't need to. You're walking by all those windows. You look in the window and you can see if you got somebody coming up behind you. So these things, there is, you need to be careful no matter what, wherever you're at. You've got the color codes of awareness. In white, like you're in your home, doors are locked, you should be able to consider yourself safe. So that, again, that 91 protected from the people shooting into the house. The next is, you've got color code yellow. Now here, if you are in your house, you walk out that door, we have a lot more to worry about than the two-legged animals. We got four-legged animals. I've had a wolverine right there by the house where I live. We got moose, we got bears. You better be aware. Then, if you're out going around and you see something that don't look good, part of this training here is to teach you how to avoid getting past color code yellow. I see something, somebody's following me, I'll go in the building, in JCPenney's, I'll go in this or go in somewhere else. That is the idea, is not to put yourself in a bad situation. So, they continue to follow you, and they're making an aggressive act. Now you're in color code orange. That color code orange is telling you, okay, if I have to, I may have to defend myself. If you see a weapon, or for instance, us that's got some gray on top, I wouldn't dare try and take a beating, because I could end up with either any number of things that could permanently harm me. So, I would have to evaluate where I do whatever is necessary. Now, one of the top items on my phone is 911. Because if I get to the point that I think I'm being pursued, man, I'm getting 911 right off the bat. That's the first thing. So maybe I can get somebody there, but it's still, you're talking 2, maybe 3 minutes. If you see a weapon, then you need to prepare to stop the threat. Whether it's a baseball bat, a knife, anything like that. Does that make sense?
Anyway, yes, Pete.
You know, I've heard statistics that say that if you own a handgun, the chances there's a high percentage chance that you will end up, if you don't really know what you're doing with that handgun, haven't had a lot of training consistently, there's a very good chance that they will use that handgun against you.
You're right.
And
You're right. I agree with you 100%. And that's something that bothers me, that I would hate to see that happen. I would like to see people get the training they need. I go through the state concealed carry course in doing that, and then I say, now, we've established, and you see where you're at in your ability. What we need to do is get you to a point that no matter what happens, I've got some that I'm doing training with now from earlier classes, that it's, you go back and say, okay, you're going to have some targets in front of you. You're going to have to make a decision whether you're going to shoot or not shoot. Now, with the FBI statistics, if there's one, there's probably 2. And it's probably not going to be coming right in front of you. So you want to make sure, and one of the things that I do to these poor people, I tell them, when you come for this class, do not wear anything that you're not willing to be down on the dirt or in the snow. You come in, and I'll come walking by them, take them off their feet. He's coming at you. You are perfect. You know, they're coming at you. You're down. You've got to take that one out. But then you've got to be looking around. Is there somebody else coming? One of the items that I highly recommend looking at is a thing called cornered cat. It's on. You can find it on online, and it talks a lot about these things. And it's pretty good, you know, for backing up any training you do as an armed citizen. I don't recommend going too awful long without the training. It's, we have people right now, I've had 2 home invasions within, a mile of me, up there off Golden View.
It happens on the hillside.
He represents the hillside, okay?
Yeah, I know. I haven't given too much guff up to now. I live right above Golden View Middle School. But
So
these-
it's the middle schoolers you have a problem with, that's natural.
But does any of this, you disagree with? And why?
I don't know, you know, I mean, I did that Citizens Police Academy, we covered some of this, you know, talking about, more what the cops are doing.
Yeah.
But it was a revelation to me, that 30-foot wall. You go, wow, that's something with a bat or a knife, you take out 30 feet, so you really do have to know if you think it's way ahead of the game.
Well, when you consider that guy with a baseball bat was at the front, between the 2 vehicles, at the front of my vehicle. But the road was so icy, you could not
Putting Dean over here.
lunge.
Yeah.
You'd go off right
So
off your
if you want to
feet.
put a chair here.
We're gonna have to end this, we got another meeting starting in just a minute, just some patience, CLT. So William, thank you for
It's a
being
casual,
here.
casual.
Oh, I hope it made some sense. Oh, by the way, anybody that here, like you folks that have been here, I will gladly give you the whole class and your concealed carry permit, paperwork, if you wanna take it.
Now, we're not required to have any paperwork.
No,
Okay.
not in Alaska.
No, you're not.
If you travel.
But the problem is if you don't know the law and you haven't practiced, you're in a bad situation.
William, thank you for being here, sir.
Yes, sir.